Thank you there, students, for coming back to listen in here this afternoon. I think when we left off here, my dad was going to come up here. So we'll start off with him and we'll go from there to see where we're at afterwards. So Richard, if you come up here and I'll get off the way, you can sit down.
Ani gitsin niihin sinaveruk makoni do them. Well, I listened to you guys talking about clan. A long time ago, what I was told by my missionaries, Brabama Gizik, he lived till he was 107 years old. And they was taking a guess at him because there was old people a long time ago didn't know how old they are. Yeah? The doctors, they did check him, figure about 107. What he told me about, he was a chief too from the Brokenhead Indian Reserve. He said when he was having there were 7 clans, he said, they took all the, trying to pass a law. And somebody say from the Break clan or the Lynx clan, they choose who's going to sit, all those 7 clans. And some people, they haven't got a clan. Their great-grandfather, grandfather's dad was a white man. See, a white man haven't got no clan. And those that haven't got a clan, they used to call them Abatu Gushan. They used to call those guys that haven't got no clan, Abatu Gushan, half Indian, half white. And they did, well, them too, they choose who's going to be their leader, and they're sitting in that circle. But them that they couldn't vote, they couldn't they could make a decision. They were listed them too, You know, how I don't know how Roseau had a long time ago, but how that's what I was told. And my grandfather, he was quite old. It was in the paper too. One of the oldest Indian ever lived till 107. But he told me too, as I was growing up as a boy at 14 years old, he said, he fought in the Civil War. Of course, he fought for the South. They told him that you guys couldn't make peace with the blue coats. And that's all. And I'm gonna change the subject about talking about those. You get money for 160 acres of land for each family of 5. But me, I got that grant, 160 acres, and a house in town. That was a forgettable grant. All I put is down is 135. But you got to stay there for 10 years, then you get a clay title. See what happened? Well, I got 160 acres, but I didn't own it yet. What I got a farmer there, he rented it, but they had to pay back to Indian Affairs the rent of the land. So I was there about 10 years. I got a clay title. About a week later, my neighbor came and seen me. Oh, Richard, you got some land? Yeah. Buy it off you. No, somebody said, some of the land is owned, if you buy it, it costs $75 an acre. Well, I go deal with you. As long as you don't sell to nobody else, I'll give you $100 an acre for 160. So I was happy. I signed and I sold it to him. See what happened? I got to sort of be beat a little bit there too. That rent he was paying, he was supposed to pay to me, but he paid for the Indian Affairs. I sort of was screwed up and seen my brother Stanley, and that's what she showed me the papers. Look, you should have came to me. I misunderstood. He went to Indian Affairs. He signed a paper a day that said you couldn't do nothing. See, I got beat with that thing. But I still sold the land. I still got it. 160 acres. Because you call it a forgettable grant. My brother helped me that time, Donald. He was pretty good. He had to wait with Indian Affairs to get grants, and and it was good. I know I don't know if that 160 acres is still available. The people get a call a credible grant. Maybe the chief and council should look into it. I still got the documents at home. Maybe I should show it someday to one of the councillors. Again, that's what I want to say. Again, talking about was in school and day school. Me, I was a little boy. I was a left-hander, and the teacher told me I was possessed by the devil because I used my left hand to write. I got the scar to prove it too. I got hit with the stick. They said I was possessed by the devil. Used my left, and that time I had to learn my right. I had a hard time in school. To school, I had to learn. Sometimes I was a mess. And I asked one time, I said, "Who made this land?" I told him, "Wienerbush." He said, "Oh, no, God made it." No, Wienerbush, I told him. And the old priest said, "Oh, that's just a fairy tale." Then I got kicked out again. And the teacher said, "Only time I had to take this boy back, you got to admit to me, I'm sorry." I said, "No, Simon, the Wienerbush, I told him, made a land, and he's God's messenger," I told him, man. But I want to apologize. And I swear to her, I used that four-legged word on her. Oh, she got mad. And that's it. And I'm not apologizing. Okay, and that's about it. And to go back to the clans again, I don't know. See that how the clan goes to get a clan. You just like me. I'm in a Bray clan. My great grandfather was in a Bray clan, so I got it from them. And my mother was in the Fox clan, and my grandfather Beabamagizik, his wife was in the Rattlesnake clan. About 3-4 generations back, we all had clans. I don't know about how they do about it. No, maybe Charlie should know how that clan should go. That's about it. Be good.
Bonjour maintenant. I want to. What I'm going to share is not very kind to people of the other race. You see, our people, we never had sugar diabetes. I have sugar diabetes. Our people never had that before. Sugar diabetes and that. And I remember in 60s, late 60s, 1967, no, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, somewhere around there. The government used to give us 100-pound bags of flour per individual in your family. So there was 7 of us in our family. In the fall, they would give us 700 pounds of flour and 700-pound bags of flour. And that's where our diabetes came from. Nobody talks about that now. Nobody says anything about that. They all say no. But that's true. That's where this disease came from. And it became hereditary. My mom had it. That's what she died from. And I have it now. And I hope my children and my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren don't get it. I hope they don't. I pray that they don't. You see, they tried to kill us off. They tried to kill us off. To get rid of the Indian by killing them off. And so I wanted to share that with you, because some of the things that they've done to us is not very good, not very good. Look what they did to us in the residential school system. There was a story a woman told me, her own story. She says, in Brandon, I used to go to Brandon Residential School. I was there for 2 years. And she says, remember the hill behind the school? And she says, remember they wouldn't let us go to a certain area there? Yeah, I remember that, I told her. And being kids, we went over there. And when she was telling me about this girl, this young girl that she came to school in September from one of the northern communities, and she cried all the time. She was always crying for her family, and they couldn't help, couldn't stop her from crying. So they took her upstairs to the infirmary, 3 floors up to the infirmary. They kept her there. And then it was a while after, in September, October, November, somewhere around there, she went and asked where this girl went. And the staff told her that they sent her home. They sent her home because she was lonesome for her family. And then she left it at that. And then at Christmas time, that girl's parents came to see her. At Christmas time, they came to see her. And she wasn't there. The staff told her we sent her home. And she never got home. And that woman went on to say, we went up to the hill there in the back of the school. And there was a place there where it looked like there was a freshly dug grave. This was in the fall. There was a freshly dug grave there. And so she thought, I wonder if this is where that girl is buried, she says. She put 2 and 2 together and came up with the idea that they killed her. Or they let her die or killed her or something. You see, they did a lot of stuff like that to us. There's how many children did they find in those residential schools now? 5,000, 6,000, something like that. And there's a story about another girl in Kawesis, I think, where the girl was looking down at the front door there from upstairs. She was looking down, and these 2 priests were carrying a bag of something, a black bag. And the girls there thought at that time, it must be a body, the way they were carrying it. And they put it in a canoe. And they took it out. They took it out into the lake. And that's where they dumped it. They came back later, and the bag was empty. And so again, they put 2 and 2 together, and they found out that that girl had been killed there. That's where they dumped her. Now, these stories are true. I'm not making them up. They're true. And there's even more horror stories than this of little kids being sexually molested. They did so many bad things to us, but we survived, We survived. But it's not enough to survive. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. Don't just survive, just keep going. And I wanted to share that with you. Don't let that intergenerational trauma affect you. Don't let it affect you. Don't let it bother you. They did something bad to us, but we can't. See, Medemanedu sits at that fourth level above us. He's the one that's the one that teaches us. That's the spirit that teaches us those 7 principles of life. Respect is the very first teaching of life. Respect. There's 4 parts to respect. Respect for yourself. Respect for others. Respect for respect for all of creation. And respect for where life comes from. Life comes from the east. Those 4 parts of respect, respect. And then you have love, Zagi Diwin. Zagi Diwin. Zagi Diwin, to me, in my own interpretation, comes from the words Zagi Diwin. What does Zagi Diwin mean? It means you're stingy. So if I say Zagi Diwin to you, I'm not saying I love you, I'm saying I'm stingy of you. I'm so stingy of you that it'd be very difficult to let you go. That's how Gijemanedu is to us. Gizagi Gunan Awem Gijemanedu. He's stingy of us. He doesn't want to let us go, but he had to let us go. He's stingy of us. And then you have truth, Debo win. Truth. Always tell the truth. Even a little white lie is a lie. And the 4th principle of life is honesty. Live your life the way the Creator gave you. Live your life that way. And the 5th one is courage. Zongadewin, courage. Have the courage to stand up for what you believe in. And the 6th one is knowledge. Kikandaswin. Knowledge. Always expand your knowledge. The fact that you're sitting here, you're expanding your knowledge. Always expand your knowledge. Never sit idle. But never sit idle thinking you know everything either, because you don't. And the 7th gift, 7th principle of life is humility. Humility is knowing that you are a spirit first before you're human. Knowing that you're a spirit first, because your spirit is at that 4th level. Your spirit was at that 4th level, and you had your 4 gifts there, and your spirit came down and went into your mom's womb. And you saw yourself up there when you saw yourself sitting here. And you chose this life that you're on right now. Nobody chose it for you. That's free will. Nobody chose it for you. You chose it over there. And when you came down here, Creator pulled that memory from you. But when you were born, you're leading that life that you saw, but you don't see what's coming. If you saw what was coming, you wouldn't learn anything. And so those are the 7 principles of life. Any one of those principles will help you through anything, or a combination of one or two or three of them will help you through anything that you're going through. Always remember that. Always remember that. And you saw your ups and downs, and you don't know what your ups and downs are coming. But always remember, when there's an up, there's always a down, and when there's always a down, there's always an up. It all balances out. It all balances out. Whatever you do, you do something good. Don't do good because you know something is going to come to you. Don't do good like that. Do good because you want to do good. Not because you're hoping something better will come at you. No. And don't try your best not to do bad. But all of us have done something bad. Nobody's perfect. Perfection was never a goal. Living your life the best you can is what the Creator wanted from us. He never wanted anything from us. If He wanted anything from us, it would be for us to be happy. To be happy. And Migo minik kedoan. That's all I want to share. Eh? Oh, I'll share an energy song. Okay. What song should I sing? A wolf song? I'll share the wolf song. And anybody who's in a wolf clan can get up and dance or sing along with me, or if you know the song, sing along with me. yo hey ho. When I was young, give it oh my King, give it oh my King, hey ho, yo, hey ho, hey hi, yo, hey ho, ho, migoya. Ah, that song talks about the wolf. I call it the wolf song. Was given to me. I heard it once. And I got it. I got the song. When you hear a song once and you get it without having to practice it, that is being given to you by the Spirit. That song is given to you by the Spirit if you hear it once and then. And that song talks about the Wenabojo. Wenabojo was working, naming everything here on Earth, on Turtle Island, naming everything, and he noticed that everything else was in pairs, and birds and animals and were in pairs, and he asked the Creator, "Why am I here alone? Why am I here alone?" And then Creator told him, "Someone will come and be with you." And sure enough, later on, the wolf was with Wenabojo, and that wolf is telling you, "Wenabojo ngiwichi I helped Wenabojo. Well, I helped him doing his work, naming everything, and I helped him here on this earth. Here on earth, I helped him." And when they walked together for a very long time, and when they separated, the wolf is still our brother, but when we do ceremonies, we don't allow dogs or anything like that close to the ceremony because of the fact that we separated from the wolf and that. So that's why we don't allow any dogs within our ceremony. So migo ye mineke keto anu manogo. Oh, migoch.
All right, again, thank you there, Peter, for sharing your story there, and also that song. That's always a nice song to hear. Charlie, turn the mic over here to Sir Charles.
I know, I think your kids are going to be here for another few minutes. And while I'd like to encourage the package, the treaty package knowledge, items of the treaty knowledge or treaty bundle to be put on a Prezi. And there are certain items there that we could have, if we have a Prezi button, press that button on soldiers or veterans, and then we'll have all the knowledge about the veterans and what they contributed to veterans, you know. If we had an item like expansion clause, there's a button for that one, and then the expansion clause will come. And then I bet you my friend there, Wayne Scott, his picture, if we can find it, he had he had a presentation that he did in Lower Fort Garry, and he talked about that expansion clause. And that's all I have to say about that, he said. He sounded like that Forrest Gump. And there's another item that I wanted to get into was equity clause. I think we should learn more about equity clause. What Kiwinini told me or told us, he said that the commissioner told us that we cannot give you any less or any more of what we had given. And what happened is that he gave to other treaty areas 640 acres for a family of 5. And I think we ought to follow up on that idea because we can get more land. So we could get 4 times what we were to get. So if you said we have 2,800 people, which is almost like 3,000, almost. And if there was 12,000 acres, and between the 2 reserves, like the one we live on right here, we should do a tour sometime of the lands that we have, so that you could see between the rivers over there how much land we have. There used to be a little lake over there, and then it goes. You ever go to north of L'Atelier there? There's one road that goes to Winkler. If you go, look straight east from there, that's where the northwest corner of the reserve is, on the east side of the Red River. That's where it starts, right there. And then you could, that's the northwest corner of Roseau River on the east side of the Red River. And we should visit those lands so that you could know that maybe someday we could use that land for something. Why I think we should have that equity clause, you know. I think we ought to pursue that area. And again, yesterday we should have another one on the medicine chest button. We should have that one. I think we should have another button that says housing button, because they helped us with. You remember when you said yesterday there, Richard? You said they gave us floorboards, and then you said they gave us lime, because we used to do mud housing. We used to do clay and straw. We used to mix it up, and we used to plaster the log houses. And then after we plastered that log house, and they used to put the lime. And so that's a part of the log housing. We have to work at some of the housing if we're going to increase the housing. That we're going to need more housing, and we're going to need more water somehow. I think we got to plan to have more water. I know one time they cut us off on water some here one time because we didn't pay some bills. So I was telling these people, I said, you know, yeah, we ought to make sure that our bills are paid for. Yes, I told some of those people that were at the chief summit there a couple of days ago. We went to Brandon on Tuesday, and that's what I told that guy with the water. I said, you know, we ought to ensure that we have water, and we have to maybe revisit that agreement somehow. I wonder how much water is possible from that reservoir in L'Atelier, or do we make some more places? If we have more land someplace, like say they have some of this land up in Crown Land up east, and I heard that they have really good water there, and we ought to go and maybe we ought to get some of that land, make sure we have water, good quality water. You know, maybe we could make a business out of water, but there's some ideas like that. So we need maybe a button for the air, maybe another button for the water, another button for the land. You know, one time my dad told us, you know, there were at the time before treaty, or right even at the time of treaty, we had so much birds here that when the birds took off, it would darken the sky. Can you imagine a time where they had so much birds living in our lands, it would darken the sky? So I said, oh, that's a very descriptive time where we lived, so with so much birds that'll fly, that'll darken the sky. Nowadays, it's hard to, maybe it's decreasing. And then there was this land, also, or this river from the Lake Winnipeg. If the sturgeon went to Lake Winnipeg to go and feed what they do, and like the salmon, when they go up the spawning area, then they go down to the ocean, and then that's where they go, and then they come back again another time and go and spawn, and then they die. But these sturgeon, we used to have a land there at the rapids where the sturgeon were so plentiful that you could walk across if you could walk across on the backs of these sturgeon, you wouldn't touch the ground. There are so many sturgeon there. That's a description of some plentiful things. Nowadays, there's no sturgeon spawning over there that we know of. And that water was so clear. You know, you could look and you could see your feet at the bottom of that river. So it was nice to swim in that water that time. You know, I don't know if I think it's still like that. So I think what happened was, I think there's some dams that were made. One of them is Lockport. And then there was another dam at Dominion City. If you go to Dominion City, there's a big fish there. That's a sturgeon. That's where they used to go up there at the rapids there, by the ceremony grounds there. that's where they spawned it there. So, and I think about that. I think, wow, we used to have a way of life from the river, and now it's hard to even imagine that we have. We do have some fish in the river, and they used to have a what do you call that? A weir. They have a weir at the rapids. A weir is they lined up some rocks like this, and then they put a what do you call a weir, and in that weir there's a kind of a cage. It's a cage, so the fish go into that through that open area, and then that's it. They'd get caught in that weir, and they won't be able to get out. So that's some of our ways of our people. And you're not supposed to take more than you need. You can't overdo things. You can't kill lots of birds for nothing. Even though we used to eat birds. We used to have a tagubichigan. You know what I don't know if you had this thing flat on the ground like this, if you turned it around, it'll be flat. And if you put a stick there, and then you put crumbs underneath that, where the birds can go and eat that crumbs underneath there, that say like if this was propped up like this, maybe it looks like at an angle like this, and then you put some seeds in there underneath there, and then you get the birds to go in there, and then you pull that, you tie a string onto that prop, and then when the birds go in there, you pull that string, and then that door would fall on top of the birds, and then you go run over there and you jump on top of the board or the door, and you try to kill those birds. But we didn't kill them for nothing. We put. My mom would give us, we pluck them, and then we put them in a tin can like that, and he'd give us oatmeal, and put it in the oatmeal and the bird. And then that's, we cooked for ourselves that time. So that was part of our nutrition. And we used to kill rabbits. I wouldn't tell you about my rabbit story. My rabbit story is about, I killed a rabbit when I was, we snared a rabbit when I was about 5 years old, because we used to live there till I was about 6 years old. So I must have been about 5 when I first caught a rabbit. But we didn't know how to kill it. So we dragged it home so Mom could kill it. And then we let Mom cook it for us. So we ate a lot of rabbits. Today, we can't find any rabbits in the grain fields. So that's one of the things that has changed. The land has changed so much that we can't go and get rabbits from the grain fields. We can't get medicines from the grain fields because they took away all the medicines in what grew in there. And they liked some of these lands. That's where they can make money and for their living. and I guess they're practicing their treaty right. You know, the white settlers that settled around here. We want to meet with some of the people from neighboring towns. I got a call there a couple of days ago before we came here. Ray Ham said, let's get together. Remember Peter and Edward, Ed Hayden and myself, and we met with him. And he said we could meet again. And we want to talk about this treaty bundle some more. You know, we want to tell them this the truth and reconciliation in action. So they want to do something. They want to do something that'll help us get energy. And that's what we need. You young people, you need lots of good energy. And so when you feel like you have a friend out in Altona, or you have a friend in New Berthol, you have a friend in Dominion City, you have a friend in Letellier, you know, these are different white people. You know, I'm glad we can get out of the reserve every once in a while. And I want to thank you, kids, for coming, and all of our people who contributed to our. If there's some more open mic, if you want. The last of our treaty days, Roseau, 150 years. I think what we want to do is improve the knowledge, our collective knowledge of the treaty. And I think that's the most important part. You know, if we could research some more of what, and we need to share this story to, we've been shortchanged, and the erosion of our treaty rights. And I think we need to strengthen our story, and we have to, they have to hear us in order for us to to improve. The unemployment, nobody could stand this long without having a job. You know, people are so, we're so immobilized because of the poverty. We need medical transport to get to the hospital, and even if you have to go to the store, you have to pay somebody to take you to the store, you know, because you don't have your own car. But, you know, those are things that it's a good thing to have a car. And we have to keep ourselves mobile. We have to do things for ourselves to help ourselves. We want to help ourselves and have a good way of life. So I know that the old days you used to have a horse and buggy or a horse. I think that was a way to be immobile. And in the old days, we used to have to hunt. We used to have to run after the deer. And that's Philip Martin's story to me, was that we had to have to run after the deer, he said. I know they're fast in the beginning, but we catch up to them. And then that's how he described things. And we had great runners in the old days. So I want to share that much. Does anybody want to close off, or?
I just want to say miigwech for inviting us again. The students that are here right now, they wanted to come back, so I'm happy about that. And I know maybe sometimes they look like they're not listening, but they hear and they're present. So just want to say miigwech to all the presenters and for all the organizers. Miigwech everyone from Canoe School.
Ooh. Okay. So,
Okay, we got just a little under an hour to close things off. Maybe you can have some final speeches by some of our presenters here today. And again, it was nice to see these students here this afternoon, this morning. Who would like to take us into our final moments here? Wow, I mean, our closing, our closing our workshop off here. That kind of didn't sound. When Charlie was talking about those equity clause, Farrell hits me. Is he talking about Santa's cousin? Told him you're just as bad as those kids sitting over there. So I don't know who's gonna close us off here. We got Jason was supposed to come close us off with a song, but Farrell's here, so he'll do that afterwards. Maybe Terry, if you want to come and share a few things here before we shut her down for these past 2 days. Okay, he's gonna set something up here on the laptop.
So anyway, I want to present some of this information here regarding where TLE. When I was on TLE as a trustee, and Martha LaRock, Thomas, Alaron Alexander, we filed a lawsuit on the TLE, and that was in I believe in 2009, 19, I think. We'll just move through it. I think maybe Donis can help me on this. 2017, March 27, 2017. And Blado. And so I wanted to kind of give this information. In 1996, we went. We signed a TLE, and there was. And in the TLE, the federal government acknowledged that they did not complete 5,861 acres of the what do you call shortfall lands that were supposed to be in place in 1871. The lawsuit on TLE took place in 1993. Donis, if you remember, your mom and my dad, they helped launch that lawsuit. It was for $763 million. That's what the lawsuit was in 1993. And Rhys Jones was the lawyer for that one. And then after that, Evelyn died in 1995. And my dad, February 27th, 1996, 95. Anyway, so what Rhys Jones ended up doing was that he lost two of the biggest supporters they had in Roseau River here. So he did launch this. What happened was that in '93, they sued for $763 million. It finally got settled in 1996 for for $14 million. It was accepted as $14 million settlement, and but we had up to 16,218 acres of land that we can purchase and convert to reserve status. So that was the TLE. But in the TLE agreement in 1996, Canada gave itself 15 years to complete the 5,861 acres of shortfall. So Canada gave itself 15 years to 2011, and that was a time that they that was the last of the time that they had to complete the shortfall. And shortfall is it's very clear that the 5,861 acres, that was land that was supposed to be reserve land in 1871. So they had to do that. That was part of the legal structure for them in terms of making sure that they ratify Treaty Number 1. They complete the shortfall. Very, very important for people to understand what shortfall is. In the Peguis agreement in 2008, they had 166,000 acres under their TLE, but 55,000 acres of that is shortfall. Land that was supposed to be in place in 1871 for Peguis. So very clear in the system with regard to reserve lands inside the Treaty Number 1 and urban reserves inside the city of Winnipeg. We have the capability, and I believe that we have the capability that when we purchase land, because Canada failed to complete the shortfall in 2011, we can declare that land to be reserve land the day we buy it. And it's Canada that has to protect the treaty, not really us. So when we did the lawsuit against Canada, basically what we're saying to them is that we had about 6 years under contract law. After something happens, after contract law, you have about 6 years in order to be able to file something. So we filed in really almost the last day, March 27, 2017. We filed this lawsuit, said, you know, to make sure that we had something filed with them. And in the courts that Canada did not complete the terms and conditions of Treaty Number 1. So this is one of the areas that we look at, that Canada did not complete the treaty, and they didn't complete the obligations in treaty. So that's one of the areas that we're going to be pushing on. Treaty land entitlement is very, very important. So the 5,861 acres, you know, if you had it inside the city of Winnipeg, you essentially just declared an urban reserve. We just declared Roseau River lands, and then you end up, it should be reserve land the day you buy it, the day you declare it. And that's one of the things that we have to do. We have to legislate TLE. We have to legislate treaty. Because if we continue to wait for the federal government to come along and fix the treaty, it's not going to happen. It's been 125 years when they signed the TLE agreement in 1996. It's now 150 years after the signing of the Treaty Number 1. We still haven't completed the treaty. So it's up to us to legislate all of this. So I think one of the things as a government, we have to start doing legislation. And that's where we have to count on our people to start doing, creating legislation, gaming legislation. We have to create cannabis legislation. We have to create education legislation, like the right to, for our own legislation on education. The right to create laws on child and family services, a whole lot of different areas, even policing. Roseau River, if we continue to rely on the funding, there's not a lot of funding. There's 74% unemployment here in Roseau River. And that's very clear. That's part of it's because of the Indian Act. And the funding that we get I think we got about $3.7 million. $3.7 million we get at health. We get about $5 million in education. We got about $6 million in Indian Affairs, Department of Indian Affairs funding. We have some gaming revenues, and we have some other areas. But in total, we don't have a whole lot of money. We have, in terms of the money that we do have, the only way that you can actually get more money is creating the urban reserves. And that's the West Bank story. West Bank, as I said, is doing close to about $50 million a year. So we look at the urban reserves inside the city of Winnipeg. That's our real serious area of creating wealth. Right now we've only converted 75 acres of land, and that's the Highway 6 lands, and there's only two businesses there. That's the Red Sun gas station and the gaming center. So we only actually have developed two, maybe 3 acres of lands since 1996. There's only been 2 and maybe 3 acres of lands that's been developed. And it is creating, some money is coming back to the community, but it's not enough. So I think one of the things we're saying is that if you only got half a percentage of lands that have been converted to reserve status under the TLE, and maybe 0.3% under the 24,167 acres, that's the only lands that we got converted. Well, you're not making a hell of a lot of money on the lands that you have potential to create new urban reserves. If you can get into the city of Winnipeg and start creating urban reserves, now you're talking, 30, 40, 50, even $100 million a year coming back to the community. And over the course of 20 years, that's a hell of a lot of money. And that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. You have to be able to buy land inside the city of Winnipeg. You have to be able to create wealth, and it's not just selling cigarettes. It's also cannabis. It's also commercial buildings. It's also housing. It's also health centers. At Highway 6, we want to look at a full health center, and that means private MRI, CT scan, ultrasounds, diagnostic center. There's $2 billion a year that comes down to Highway 6. Even if you just capture $400 million of that, you're making a hell of a lot of money. And that's the direction we want to go in with the TLE. So anyway, that's what I wanted to just mention to you guys. There's a lot of lawsuits that need to take place. You need to get the First Nation to start suing the federal government on the lands, on the monies that we were owed. And there is what Stephen Pilipow from Saskatoon, our lawyer, he sued the federal government on what they call the cows and plows, the promises that were made in treaty, where they say, you're supposed to get plows, you're supposed to get some cows, you're supposed to get some other things, and he sued them, and for one of the reserves in Saskatchewan, and they got a $50 million settlement. And we're going to court on a similar thing with Stephen Pilipow. He's going to get 9% of he's not getting any money from the reserve until at the end of the time and if he gets a successful lawsuit, he'll get 9% contingency. For right now, he's getting nothing. He's getting zero. But when he does succeed, we figure about $30 million will be settled on that claim. So he'll get 9% of that, $2.7 million, if he gets successful. And the rest would come back to the reserve. So we do have a lot of lawsuits that need to keep going. So I just wanted to present that information that Roseau River is in a good position to start looking at. Like I said, we got about $100 million in the two areas. There's about $16 million of the TLE, and there's about $85 million in the 1903 surrender. So we have capacity to be able to launch lawsuits where we didn't before. So thank you everybody for listening and being here. Yeah, and we have a lot of research information. So any of the packages or any of the things, we can get anybody that wants to access a lot of this information. We'll get it on the web or a link or something like that, and they can. Okay, if you want to send your email, the Curbs here can get your email, and then he'll send you information. Miigwech.
Anybody want to send information to us at the GNU Wellness Center? It's K. Nelson at gnu.ca. You might overload Kirby. We could also transfer to other some other support services.
That about brings everything to a close here. Again, I'd like to say a big chimigwech to each and every one of you that came out here these past 2 days, and also to the presenters that spoke so well here over these past 2 days. Our sound technicians and the fellas recording us here these past few days. I'd like to say a big miigwech to you guys for all your hard work. I know that's a lot of hard work, strong work, especially this young man that was sitting in front of us here. I saw him all day pretty much yesterday, standing throughout yesterday, and today he got smart and pulled a chair behind him. So my hat's off to you guys for all your hard work here. I wish you guys safe travels back home, and miigwech again to everybody. We're gonna get my brother here, Farrell Mandamin, to close us out here with a closing song. STRONGFRONT.tv. Again, chimigwech, fellas. Aho. With that, we'll go over here to my brother Farrell Mandamin with a closing song here. Oh, chimigwech there, Farrell, for that good song. And again, for everybody here and for those of you online, I'd like to say, take care of yourselves and each other. Aho.